Hi, I'm Alan Ball and welcome to my family room remodeling project. This project started just under 2 years ago in December of 2020. I have about 2,000 hours of labor invested in this and about $60,000, of which roughly half of that is the new doors that we put on. I'm going to take you on before and after pictures of the different areas of the room and show you how it's changed, and also I have some videos of the details of the work that we've done so you can get a little better idea of what went into this. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Here's what things looked like before I started. This is the hallway. Kind of hard to get a good shot of it here, but just a basic hallway. Couple lights in the ceiling. The lighting's going to change. A lot of things are going to change in here. And then we'll move on.
So here's the remodeled hallway. Looks a little different. We've done a lot of things different here actually. The ceiling had 4 6-inch cans in it. Now we have 4 4-inch cans. The side lights that were down there are now gone. I've added chair railing along it to give it kind of a wainscoted look, although it's not really. It's just painted a different color down there. The ceiling is now tile instead of drywall, and that was a big change. You can see that. And of course the whole floor has been redone. And we'll get into that a little later. But this is the new hallway.
Here's the entertainment center end of the family room. I built that cabinet a couple decades ago, back when TVs were 3:5 aspect ratio. Now of course they're different, so I took one of the spots out. One of the cabinets, the skinny ones, like are up above the middle, and made it a little wider so we could get a new TV in there, but still not real big for a room like this. Got some speakers up in the ceiling and some stuff like that. It's all going to change. And this wall is windows all along here. And then we have the stairway up ahead and the library.
Here is the all-new entertainment center, complete with a 70-inch television. It's completely built in now, no freestanding cabinets. The equipment's all down here below it, you can see. Up above it, where used to be an open plant shelf, it's now enclosed. There's speakers up there though. We have left and right speakers, center speaker, subwoofers all up there behind the grills. And then up in the ceiling, maybe hard to see this, but there are 2 built-in speakers. The back speakers are up in the ceiling. You can see the ceiling's completely redone also. Totally different style. And there are the lights, fans. Maybe I don't know if you can see the slots in the ceiling up here. You can tell some of them have some dark lines. There were register vents up there, but I didn't have any good way to leave those there, and I don't like register vents anyway. So what I did was take them out and I ran the air through these beams and put slots in it, and that's how the air gets out. So you can't hardly see that anymore. But that's the new entertainment center. I'm very happy with it. It works out nice. The side of the room is similar. Everything's been updated though. Now if you recall, we had a bank of windows along this side. This is one of the big changes we've made. And I'm going to change my camera angle in a second here so you can see more of this. But those windows went away and I have 3 doors in that area. That was one of the big expenses on this thing, getting those put in. But we can open all 3 of those doors and open this whole thing to the outside on nice days. It's just one big area then. It's really nice. We've used that several times since then. So here's a little different angle on the doors. You can also see this outside wall I've done in brick. I made all these brick, and I'll show you that in a video in just a little bit. But these doors all open up to the patio and the pool. It's really nice when you're entertaining in decent weather, which we get a few months out of here. There's a window, and down here was a sliding door So you had the smaller panel. It was 6'8", these are about 9 feet. Anyways, much shorter door and a smaller door. This is a really nice door. It opens out to the outside, of course, too, and into the kitchen.
Here's a view from the other end of the room. You can see there's a library over here, and then I've got a niche and some stuff in there next to the fireplace. There's a table here where we play cards, do things like that, and then a little, what was meant to be an eating area down here, but we don't really use it for that. But anyway, that's the other end of it.
Here's the new fireplace area. You can see the niches are still there, but totally different. The bottom one is now a wood box. It used to be where our turtle lived. The upper two still have pictures, but they also have LED lighting on top of them that's pretty well obscured so it doesn't blind you, but it lights all the pictures up nicely. And then the fireplace itself has some lighting on it and some turned columns with capitals on them. So it's a bit more ornate than the old one, a mantle above it, of course. The hearth, oh, this is like the entertainment center, which I didn't mention, but I've got granite throughout here. It's a granite hearth, granite firebox. The entertainment center had a granite shelf on it also. So we've done a lot of things differently here.
Like just stand on the ground?
Yeah, just come where I am, and then just pass it over to me.
Okay, where are the cords, guys?
There, I think we're good.
Alan?
The wires are okay?
Just make sure the wires didn't get caught.
Yeah, no, they're fine.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, it's right on the edge here.
Okay. Oh, that looks gorgeous.
Practically everything in the family room is done with wood, other than obviously the drywall and a few things like that, the brick. But unfortunately, the capitals for the columns, that's a little more difficult. You can find them, they're hard to come by, and they're incredibly expensive. These were like 150 bucks a piece on Amazon, as opposed to a couple $1,000s a piece if you want a real oak capital. So I'm going to faux paint these and make them look a little bit antiqued. Hopefully they'll go with the wood fairly well. But I'm going to show you the process that I used. So the first step is to get a base coat on these. This is going to be a fairly dark base coat, and we're going to lighten it up as we go. It's just a matter of spraying a bunch of coats of paint. Well, actually the first one is sprayed, and then I will go to hand brushing for the other steps. I'll show you those as we go. I'm going to put the next coat on now, which is meant to look like the wood. This is the wood that we're using in there. You can see the paint is very similar. It'll dry a little darker than that. So we're going to see how this goes, but now I'm going to brush on a coat of this all across here and cover most of this. Here's what it looks like after the first coat. It's moving in the right direction, but it didn't cover as well as I would like. So I'm going to go ahead and put a second coat on here. I want a little bit of the dark brown showing through, but not that much, not nearly as much as we have. So I'm going to do another coat brushed on, and we'll see what pokes through out of that, and I'll let you know when I get that done. So this is a lot closer to what I was looking for. It's mostly the color of the wood, but there's a little bit of the darker brown showing through in the deeper places, which is exactly what I wanted, which is why I started with spray paint, so I can get into all those crevices, which you can't do with a brush. Now I'm going to add a little texture and just frost it lightly, hit it on an angle here. And this is the dark brown again. I'm just going to bring out some highlights here and there. I'm almost done with these. I like the way they're coming out. It works for me. There's a million ways you can do faux painting, and it's kind of up to you. There's a lot of videos out, but whatever works. Anyway, I want to add some gold accents, and I have some gold paint here, and I'm just going to finish off some of these little pieces that stick out with gold paint. That will add some accent to it, and then let it dry, and we're basically done with this thing. So I'm going to show you how I make my tiles and my bricks that you've seen in the hallway, mainly in the family room. Start by filling a mold. There are two basic ways to do it. This is an air release mold that I'm using for the tiles. So this is a plaster, hydrocal it's called, and you run some air duct stuff through it and blow bubbles, a little bit of air through it to eject these things, otherwise they really wouldn't come out. But you fill it up with clay, press it down in, then we turn on the hydraulic press. Clean front side, and we screw the back. Then they need a little help. Sometimes you can flip this over and they'll pop right out, but this mold is not working too well like that. So I have to help them a little bit. So turn on the air, see it kind of poof up in there. And then they just peel right off. Air compressor comes out. So anyway, that's another sheet of them. When I'm done here, I dry them. And right here you can see some. What you want to do to dry them is make sure they dry fairly slowly but also evenly on both sides. So what I do, put them between drywall. This is what they recommend. A sheet of newspaper. And I let them dry. Then for the curved ones you see on the edges, that sun is not helping me. I have a little fixture here. And this is a 90-degree with a nice radius on it. Drop them right in here and squish them down and let them dry. So these will end up curved instead of straight. Those are the tiles. So the bricks are done a little differently. This is not obviously an air release kind of mold. It's just a little handmade mold. This is real easy to use. Of course you can't get the design that I did on the tiles on this. It's just flat. But most bricks have a kind of rough surface anyway, and that's what I'm doing with these. The top side here is actually the front of the brick as opposed to that other mold where the top side was the back of the tile. I fill this up. Clay. Out it. Same thing, spread this off when I get little bubbles and things, I generally fill them in. If I have little tiny bumps in it, that's fine, I leave those. So this is just like 10 thousandths smaller than the hole in here. It's very, very close because it won't come out of there otherwise. Lay it out. Backside's got a few little bumps. That's okay. And there's a brick. So one of the nice things about making your own tiles are the accessory pieces. If you've ever put in tile yourself, you'll know the tiles aren't super expensive, they're not cheap, but the little accessory trim pieces cost a fortune. That's because they're not mass produced the same way. And mine are a little more difficult too, but I don't get paid for labor, so it's not a problem. These are ones I started about 4 days ago. I have a mold. I fill it with clay and tamp it down with my mallet, and then I screed the back off flat, and you can see these guys pop right out. And I make those, and again, it's just the cost of the clay. They're dirt cheap. It's because there's not much clay and there's not much glazing. And when they're basically dry, some of them are quite dry, some of them not quite, but that's fine. I bring them over to this rack and I stack them up and keep them until I go and finish the edges off. But here are a bunch of the different tiles that I have. So the last step is just a little bit of cleanup work. These tiles are really in pretty good shape in general. I just take a moist sponge and clean up the edges on them. It smooths them down a little bit. And for the bricks, the edges are a bit rougher, and I actually sand them. And clean up the edges. So there's the brick. Here are before and afters of both the tile and the brick. Of course, there's accessory pieces also and other stuff going on here. But you can see on the left is the unfired tile. It's not glazed or anything. On the right, it's been glazed and fired. You may notice it's a little bit smaller on the right, and the same with the brick. The clay actually changes colors slightly. It turns a little more brown, a little less red, and it shrinks. This particular clay has approximately 11% shrinkage, so you lose roughly 5% just from water evaporating once you take it out of the mold and let it dry, and another 5 or 6% when you put it in the kiln and fire it. And this is the final step of the process. I store the cleaned up tiles and bricks out here. The tiles will get glazing on them, and the bricks of course don't. And they go from there into the kiln and get fired at about 2,250 degrees F. A little toasty in there. When you're doing a remodeling project like this, you normally start with the ceilings and work your way down, and this is no exception. I'm going to tile this ceiling in the hallway. We're going to do something different out in the main family room. But you can see where I've taken off the drywall up on top and actually down about 5.5 inches. So I'm using some tiles up there, but I bent some of them on a 90-degree angle so the edges will be rounded. I thought about putting an arched ceiling, but it's only an 8-foot ceiling and I didn't want to drop it that much, but this will give it kind of that look by rounding the edges. We had one 6-inch light can in the middle of the ceiling, and then there are several of the lower lights, you can kind of see here, that were in the old design. Those are all going away, the lower ones, and instead I'm putting 4-inch cans up in the ceiling. You can see there's a couple of them back. So it would be a whole different look to this hallway with the tile and the more lights. And I made a register vent for this, got rid of the metal one, made a nice wooden one. And the tiles are going to be the same thing that I've used in the bathroom here. Look just like these, except that I'm putting just an off-white kind of glaze on those instead of a tan, which is what these are. But it'll be the same mold that I did. So anyway, that's where we're starting in the hallway, and I'll show you in a little bit what it looks like when it's done. Here we are at the next step in the hallway project. You can see the backer board has been all the way installed, and I've started installing the tiles. When we get down at the end, you can see that. So that's kind of what it's going to look like, other than I need to get some grout in there and finish the tile. So now I'm going to be working on the ceiling in the family room. I'm putting beams along there in a grid pattern. So you can see here the square hole on the left. The big one is where the vent used to be. That's now kind of a T-shaped thing, and the air is going to flow into the insides of the beams, and I'll have slots on the sides, so it'll be pretty much invisible because I don't really like air conditioning vents. So it should hide those pretty well. And then the round hole over to the left was where the fan was, and way over to the right you can kind of see where the fan is going, where the new hole is for that. I don't know from here if you can see the pencil lines on the ceiling because I have a laser level and I've laid out all the lines. But now I need to fill these in and retexture it so I can move everything for this portion. And then I've still got 2 more fans to go and another vent and a smoke detector and a light, a bunch of other stuff to move. Here's the living room ceiling under construction. I'm doing this in 3 sections so that I can move in between the furniture, which is all over the place. But the end section you can see down there is done. And the middle section I'm working on right now. And then I'll finish the last piece. I just need to put most of the bottoms on these beams and paint it for this section. But I'll show you some more later when this is all finished. Here's a quick update on the flooring. You can see the finished stuff down here. We saw that before. And there was a bump up here by the basement where the basement floor met the slab. And I've got all that feathered out now, and I've adjusted the wood going over it to take some of it out to make it fit better. But anyway, that's all done. So now I just need to fill this with 2 to 3 coats of black epoxy. In a few cases I'll probably use some wood filler also. And when that all gets done, I will put 3 coats of varnish on it and it will be done. But I'm down to the hallway now, down here. That's what I'm working on right now to get that stuff done. I put the buckets on here to help weight things down wherever things are poking up a little bit to try to hold it together until the adhesive dries. But that's where we're at. So for the beams on the ceiling, I designed a side piece that looks a lot like this, and I ordered some cutters and they make them to your specifications, and this is what the edges are going to look like. They'd actually be setting like this, and then with 2 of them in the face piece covering over them on the bottom. But on the ends I have curved stuff, so you can't just bend that, it's way too thick. So what I've done is made what's called bent wood laminations. That's what we have here. You can see this. So I cut these strips into roughly 1/8 inch thick pieces, and then you glue them all back together on this form. You can see it takes a lot of clamps, but you glue all this back together and you put the outside pieces on with all of the trim. And when I'm done, I have a nice curved piece that matches the rest of it. But it is a lot more work and a lot more materials. It actually takes 2 pieces per side by the time I cut them and get the scrap out of there to make the set of laminations that build up one of those. So you're double the material, but you also have to build a form, and there's a lot of labor. Anyway, this is kind of what it looks like. This is the next to the last lamination. I'm almost done here. The final little pieces actually end up in 2 pieces, but you can see here's the bottom piece. This will glue on down here, and then there's another top piece that comes up here and has the rest of the trim. There's a little groove in here that's about 1/2 inch wide, and when I'm all done, the perimeter of these beams around the outside of the room, I'm going to load these up with LED strips, so there will be lighting around the outside of this, add a little atmosphere.
I've added a bunch of lighting in here that wasn't here before. All this stuff around the fireplace. There's some accent lighting down at the end in the corner here, behind the TV. That's not a very good focus, is it? There. Behind the TV, and the flowers off to the left all have new lighting. But the other thing I've done that we really enjoy, I put the blinds down to darken it a little. We've added some accent lighting around the beams up on top. And this comes on automatically at night. Actually, there's a timer on it. And these things just light up, so you have all this light. And it's plenty to see by for the most part. And then here are the doors with the blinds down. These are Valley blinds again. It did take 6 months to get these things because of supply chain issues, but they are nice. We do like them. Yeah, they're a little slow, but they're all automatic. So you push a button and they go up, and you push a button and they go down. I won't make you watch them go all the way up, but you get an idea of what's going on here. In the morning we put them up, in the evening we put them down. The final thing that you can check out here is the flooring. This is mesquite, which is the darker wood, and then red oak is the wood in between. And the whole thing has a panel effect similar to the ceiling to give a little continuity there. But anyway, we like it. It's a nice hardwood floor, and we got rid of all the carpet. We have almost no carpet left in the house at all. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you want to see some more, here are a few more that you can check out on YouTube. Thank you for watching.